Hi, Mickeleh. I'm Patrick, and I'm very intrigued by this conversation about education that has been started with Dan Brown and continued through yourself and Thunderfoot and many others. The reason being that I used to want an education. Now I am one. I'm very much interested in your comments about universities being responsive to student needs. So much so that I actually went and got the book that you recommended. I too will read it and will be very happy to comment on it and give my perspectives. The reason that I'm interested in this sort of thing is that for many years now I have worked as a professor at a public university, educating young people. Now, here's the rub. I'm interested in your equation of success rate being defined simply by completion of a degree. Certainly, that is the metric that universities are going to use to measure whether or not they are in fact being successful, because that's what universities do. They award degrees for academic progress. I have this lovely degree from my undergraduate institution that says that I've earned a Bachelor of Science in chemistry. Does that mean that I'm educated? Hardly. In fact, not even this one. Or this one, which came from other places. You see, the value of education isn't just simply doing what's necessary to get the degree. And if that's where it stops, then universities will have failed. Certainly as an educator, my feeling is that if I cease to be interested in my students once they've left the classroom, or once they've gotten their degree, I as an educator have failed. Because it's their progress afterward. It's not so much learning the material in the classroom, but learning how to apply it so they can do things that are creative. Mandelbrot's in heaven, at least he will be when he's dead. But now he's still alive and teaching math at Yale. You see, Benoit Mandelbrot is a great example because his contributions to mathematics didn't come because he was going to be awarded a degree, but rather were made possible by the work that he did while attaining his degrees and education. But on the topic of Dan dropping out of school, I really don't have a problem with that. Dan has made choices for himself, and I think probably informed choices. Those choices have consequences. There's certain economic realities in terms of what happens if you don't have a degree compared to what happens if you do. But if our whole purpose as an educational institution is to guide people simply to get the degree, without any understanding of the value of what they have done to get it, and how to apply that in their lives, then we will have failed. If the whole point is simply to get a job, then we should change the names of our universities to vocational training centers. And there's a difference. You know, I'm actually pretty proud to work at a university and proud of the work that I do. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to work with students and help them achieve things beyond what they do in the classroom and beyond what they do simply by earning a degree. And some of the best students that I've had are students that either dropped out or even failed out of college in their first attempt. Maybe they were distracted by the temptations of youth. Maybe they had other things going on. They didn't quite have the study skills or the focus necessary to be successful. But in the second attempt, they have a new focus, and it's a focus that's driven by an actual understanding of what they are doing and what they can attain and what it will empower them to do beyond college. And that really is where education becomes valuable. It isn't simply the earning of a degree. It's applying that later on in life, maybe to solve problems no one's ever seen before, maybe even to invent the next great means of communication once we've said goodbye to YouTube. Who knows? So I'll read this book, and I'll keep an open mind as to what the authors have to say, because it's quite possible that they have insight that will be very useful to me. But ultimately, I still believe that if we focus only on the completion of degrees, and not on the value of education and creating what we in the business like to refer to as lifelong learners, then we as educational institutions will have failed in our mission to educate young people.